This is the concierge, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in today's episode, we're going to be doing a little bit of reviewing. So we are going to be reviewing a restaurant that I went to with my parents who were visiting in town the other day. They were here for the Tejano Music Festival, or music festival? Conference? I always forget what it's called. But my parents were here, and with that, usually means that we go to one unique restaurant or a place that we've never been before. And my dad proclaimed that this place has the absolute greatest bread ever made. So we're going to be jumping into that, as well as a couple little observations and things that I've kind of seen in the past couple of days here in Las Vegas. We'll have all that coming up next. Okay, Ray, so let's go ahead and dive into the episode. So we're going to be reviewing the Bedford, which is Martha Stewart's restaurant over at the Paris Hotel, which when my parents were coming into town, we were always kind of going back and forth on like what restaurant everybody wanted to go to. So the good thing about my parents is that they like to eat very early. They like to eat like around 5 o'clock if they can, which usually means that we can get reservations almost anywhere outside of, places like Golden Steer and that kind of thing. So we were going back and forth. My dad really likes the squash blossoms over at Mother Wolf, which coincidentally I met a fan. It was really nice to see you. She actually was coming into town, and she was the one who gave me the idea for the to do like a gym episode, which we're going to be doing that at some point, pretty close. But Renna Graham, shout out. It was good to see you and your family and your husband, who had been listening to the podcast first, but then you jumped on. But I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed Mother Wolf. It was still one of my favorite restaurants in town. I really enjoy it. It is one of those things like when you like work somewhere that you don't like go back there very often. But also like I actually just really do like that. Love the Fontainebleau property. Just don't get to go to the restaurants every so often. I do want to try Washing Potato because a lot of our very high-end guests actually love to dine from there. And I thought it was just strictly dim sum, but it's actually a wide-ranging like variety of Chinese cuisine. So Washing Potato, definitely want to try over at Fontainebleau. So again, thanks so much for it was really nice meeting you, and again, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. But my dad really wanted to go. He wanted to get the squash blossoms because he gets these like things in his head where he wants that one thing. So he didn't do that, and like they came up with the idea for the Bedford, which is at the Paris Hotel. They probably saw like a video about it. So I thought, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to go check it out. It's kind of a unique little spot. And when I say unique's not the correct word for it. It is unique for Las Vegas just because it has this very like, very Hampton-y vibe to it, like by the ocean, like in Rhode Island. Very what Taylor Swift would like her life to be like. So we decided to make the reservation, and we went on Friday. And again, for anybody who's ever listened to this podcast, I've probably mentioned it, that the Paris Hotel is probably the most nightmarish hotel to get in and out of, regardless if it's self-park or valet, just because of where it's located on the Strip. There's no like major streets that you can drive into it, no major side streets to drive in the back. It's you go on Las Vegas Boulevard, or I guess you can go on Harmon and then turn on, I believe it's called Paris Avenue, which will take you to the back area. But we were not on that side of the street. So we ended up parking valet. We go in, and decent-sized restaurant. Once you get on the inside, there's another room called the Brown Room or the Wood Room, and that room is like the private room that actually has a wood table and chairs that are actually owned by Martha Stewart herself. You can sit there for only $50 more, but we did not do that. But we got a nice table, and then we did go ahead and open up the menu itself. A little disappointed in the restaurant for not having like any French Bordeaux wine. So this is the thing. I've gotten into wine now. So now I like really judge restaurants with their wine selections. Like if you're in an Italian restaurant, you better have like lots of like Tuscan wines, Chianti. That definitely should be on your menu. But I was at this restaurant, and they had lots of California like Chardonnay. They had a lot of cabs. But it's supposed to be like sort of like new, like kind of French inspired. I would think they would have like a glass of Bordeaux or Burgundy on the menu. Nothing. So I did actually end up getting one bottle of one glass of cab while I was there. It was pretty good, not bad. And then I also had an old fashioned, which was tasty. My dad ended up having a beer, and then my mom had a drink that she was actually very proud that she ordered, which is sort of like a. It was sort of like a raspberry or cherry mojito, which she was really happy about. So, glad they like the drinks. That's very important. But overall, the restaurant itself, this is a very interesting thought. So, it kind of feels, it's supposed to feel sort of like you're in Martha Stewart's home or kitchen itself. Has beautiful copper pots that sort of like has this open concept kitchen, which is, quite cool. Just to kind of, I couldn't see any of it, but I know that like my mom and my dad could see back into the restaurant, and they really enjoyed it. So me looking out, like knowing that I was like kind of looking out to the rest of the Paris hotel. It doesn't feel as transformative, depending on which side you're facing out of. But if you're looking in, the copper pots are like really, really cool little touches for this restaurant. And it also has like a very like lots of like white wood is sort of like the style, but they also have like these big giant chairs that feel sort of like, somebody's living room. So I think that's the point, is that it feels like you're in a living room or the kitchen of like one of Martha Stewart's, big giant like estate houses. So once we get to the menu itself, kind of diverse, if I do say so myself. Actually, I'll pull up some pictures. So I do love to take photos, which I'll post these pictures as well on the gram. Didn't do a video. Sometimes you're just in the mood to do a video, and sometimes you are not. But once we kind of looked at the menu itself, kind of like a lot of like American classics. Of course, they have, chicken. They have steak on the menu. Almost got the steak. They also did have a chicken parmesan as well as a spaghetti and meatballs. And I always end up getting like the spaghetti, and I have no idea why, because it's always like way too much food for me. But I just really wanted a meatball, to be completely honest with you. But a lot of approachable stuff on the menu. Like they had a frito misto, which that is going to be fried calamari essentially. And then they also have, what else do they have? They have a nice chicken on the menu as well. So a lot of like really approachable items that you can find on this website or on this at this restaurant. And I've actually finally pulled up the menu, thank goodness. So my mom loves Martha Stewart, or she loved Martha Stewart for a long time. And then my dad was wondering, is like, how did Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg become friends? Rich people find rich people to be friends with. That's just kind of the way it goes. But they do have, again, pastas. They also have like the regular entrees. They have their honey mustard salmon. They also have like sea scallops, of course, the chicken parmesan, the short rib blend burger, and, a couple other things as well. So what do we start off with? My dad was very proud of himself ordering the house-made bread basket, which comes with garden flatbread, sour cherry rosemary focaccia, and then warm Parker house rolls. Big fan of the Parker house rolls. Big fan. But this is the thing, and I didn't tell my parents this when they were here. But they paid for the dinner, so it's fine because they wanted to go to it. So you don't say anything until you come on the podcast and talk about it. I am adamantly against paying for bread. I don't think bread is something you should have to pay for. It's the thing that's free. Obviously, this is very artisanal bread, if you will. And if you go on our Instagram page, conciergeconfidential_LV, you will see this bread, which has like this zucchini thing cooked into the side of it, which my dad loved it. He was like, this is the greatest bread I've ever seen in my life. A fun fact about my dad is that every time my dad goes to a new restaurant, it is the greatest restaurant he's ever been to. So you kind of always got to take it with a grain of salt. But he also really, really loved this bread that has this has to be the focaccia, the cherry rosemary focaccia, that had like crystallized salt on the top of it. And he really, really enjoyed that. So beautifully presented. I think I took a good photo of this, actually. But my dad really liked it. It was $20. So this bread was $20. We didn't get an appetizer, so it actually kind of filled the space for that. But their appetizer menu is actually pretty straightforward. They have Martha's Wagyu meatballs, Frito Misto. They also have, Jumbo Shrimp Cocktail, which we saw come out a couple times. The Jumbo Shrimp Cocktail had like this big giant head of like bib lettuce and the big, shrimp coming off the side. Very classic preparation with the shrimp that kind of like hangs off the side of the cocktail glass. Really, really big. My parents were really big fans of the presentation for this shrimp cocktail. And of course they do have, a lobster roll, oysters, all that good stuff. So, with that being said, we ended up going to, guys, no big deal. Got a match on a dating site. That's what's up. As we're on the air. So it's always kind of funny when that happens. So with that being said, we ended up getting, did we get the salad? Did we get a salad? I don't believe we got a salad. I think we were like kind of like straightforward because we got the bread. And then we ended up I got the spaghetti with Wagyu meatballs. It was good. And again, this menu has changed quite a bit. So like when I first went to Martha Stewart's restaurant, when I walked by it, had to be years ago, it was very, as they would say, foo-foo, which it still very much is. But I feel like they've really kind of understood that. And I think good restaurants do that where they actually will reconceptualize the things on their menu, which can come off as a little bit more approachable. Which this does. They have a pasta limone, which my parents love pasta limone. Wherever we go, my parents want to get that. It's not always like the greatest. Like when it's at Buca di Beppo, it's great. Honestly, there's like a lemon pasta at Mother Wolf, and it is not that great. So they got it last time we went, and I was like, that's probably wasn't like that delicious, and for a reason. But that they have that on the menu. But they have spaghetti pomodoro as well, which is quite tasty. But they ended up going for the chicken parmesan, which is actually a pretty decent size. It was actually good for two people. I actually had a bite of it as well. I thought the chicken parmesan was like one of the best things on the menu of the things that we ordered, which wasn't a lot, but I really, and I don't really like chicken parmesan. I loved this chicken parmesan. It's only $33, which is actually not terrible as an entree in, a slightly higher, like a slightly upper scale restaurant. But the chicken parmesan, delish. Would absolutely come back and get it again. It was so good. So the chicken parmesan was good. The spaghetti itself, it felt like you could taste the sauce, obviously, but it always feels like restaurants for me can never get the right consistency of like a meat and spaghetti. I've tried, but it just never feels like you ever get the right consistency for that. So we also did get sides. So we ended up getting a side of the Four Cheeses mac and cheese, which comes like really creamy on the inside and it has like this sort of toasted top to it. I'm not a fan of like crunchy, but some people love the different textures. And I think from a texture standpoint, this is actually really good because it has all the different matchings of like, that crunch, but also like that creaminess as well that comes with the Four Cheeses. They do have Martha's potato puree, which if you don't have a potato puree on the menu, like you're just messing up. We didn't actually end up doing dessert, but we did kind of sit there and I had the cab, which was really delicious. And I think it's actually a very safe choice. Like if you're going to be going with your parents or grandparents or things sort of like that, like where it's going to be a crowd pleaser for everybody. I would say the thing about a lot of restaurants that Caesar's Palace owns, which include the Paris, they're very safe. Maybe because they have chefs who are very accustomed to making menus for, kind of corporate sort of areas. I mean, a lot of places at MGM feel very corporate, that you wouldn't get from a place like Maroon, which is Kwame's restaurant over at the Sahara. Haven't been there yet. It's a little bit pricey. a little bit pricey for one person. Maybe if you go as like a group, it's worth it because everything is sort of family style served. But as a single person, like it's really hard to justify spending like $135 for a steak. And then this, all the other entrees are still going to be, $50 to $75, which it happens, but I just don't think I have like a barometer of like what like Caribbean cuisine should cost. So, the wait staff was actually quite nice. And then, did we have anything else? Oh my goodness, that is what I'm missing. This is sort of like the marquee part of the food. It was the new thing that we tried. So my other big thing is that I don't like to try things that you can get someplace else. Like Caesar salads are gonna taste like a Caesar salad wherever you go. It's just the way it works. So we actually ended up getting the, let's see, is it on here? This is what we got. So we ended up getting the Big Martha's pierogies. I've never had a pierogi in my entire life. They're pretty good. They're actually not bad, but this is kind of a fun thing that my dad really wanted to try. I think a fun thing about my dad as he's getting older is he's becoming more adventurous with his cuisine, where he just says, yeah, I want to try that. I want to eat that. That sounds good. And that kind of makes me want to try it because it makes, me really happy seeing my dad try these different things. Because growing up, we ate like a lot of like meat and potatoes, but knowing that my dad really likes like, the squash blossoms from Mother Wolf, and then we'll go out and eat pierogies, really makes me happy. So I'm really happy that he enjoyed that. So overall, Martha Stewart's restaurant, the Bedford, is decent. It's very safe. I don't think you're going to be like, this sounds kind of mean. I don't know if you're going to be like impressing somebody that you chose the Bedford by Martha Stewart, unless your partner or whatever just worships Martha Stewart. I just think there's a lot more like, adventurous places that you can dine on Las Vegas Boulevard. But I do think this is a very safe choice. It's also a very good choice for anybody, in their 50s or 60s. And not to put like a number on it, but it feels very safe. Something that you grew up eating and it's elevated to sort of this level. So overall, Martha Stewart's, the Bedford is good. Maybe above average them from good. It's very clean. But I do think this is a place you take like your parents or your grandparents to enjoy like a really nice Vegas dinner for sure. So let's go ahead and move on to another topic, which I came up with as I was doing research for an episode kind of going on. And that is with Summer League being in town, a really popular thing is for people to want to see basketball players or celebrities. So this kind of made me start thinking about, like, what is it that makes Vegas one of the places where you can never see a celebrity or you see them walking through the casino? If you live in Los Angeles, you might, again, I don't live there, but I feel like you don't see them as often as you think. There are hotspots, obviously, that happen like Craig's or Dantana's, places on, West Hollywood, Sunset Strip, where you might see like a famous comedian or, like an Adam Sandler type, but a lot of them live in different areas of town. So it is one of those things where Hollywood really saves itself from being so spread out, because then the paparazzi don't have to be in every single location all the time. So why is it when people come to Vegas, they are somewhat hidden? So a couple things. One, many of our hotels actually have their own private entrances. So we have the main porte-cochere, which that's going to be where people drive in. They drop off their guests, the luggage, and then you're also going to have like a VIP entrance, which is usually like around the side, or for properties like the Fontainebleau, underneath the hotel. So like sort of in its own drive-through area. So we have a lot of back rooms that we walk. Back rooms, like the movie. We have a lot of back rooms that we can take guests to. One of the things that guests have to usually come out and do in terms of gaming is that they do tend to have to play or would like to play craps, which craps is a great place to find celebrities because we usually do not have a high limit table staffed with craps dealers. So they will end up probably playing in the main part of the casino, and they are certainly a fun time, I have to say. But it does happen very often. So, yes, so I was at the Wynn on Tuesday, which would have been last night from this recording. And I knew somebody who was like leaving Delilah, want to say hello, goodbye, all those good things. And you see all these basketball players. And the same thing happens with football players too, because they're all so tall. And you really stand out when you are a tall person anywhere in the world, but especially Las Vegas, just because, you know, you'll see them walking through the casino. And the thing is like you only see them because they want you to see them. Sometimes they're out there just kind of walking around, but many of our high limit rooms, which is where many of our serious gamblers will gamble, they are hidden from view. They're usually in the back of the high limit room, which is because the guest doesn't want to be disturbed. I would say that a good rule of thumb about approaching celebrities in Las Vegas, and this goes for anywhere in the world, is that if they're by themselves, they are kind of free game for the most part. If they're on the phone, try not to approach them if they are on the phone, because then, you know, no one's going to like you. But you see plenty of people sending autographs down in our main part of the casino. Usually if somebody is with their kids, I will not go up to them because, again, then like for kids, it's always kind of like a weird situation. But for the most part, I've seen celebrities where I didn't say hello because they are with their children. But a lot of people will approach them no matter what, and it just kind of happens to go from there. But many of our hotels do have their own private entrances. We will typically put aliases on names because we do have lots of loose lips in the back of the house sometimes. What was a fun one? So I could tell this one because it's about 7 or 8 years old. But one time I got a call from a Mr. Baldwin, not the Baldwin. It was one of the other three. And they said, "Hello, this is Alex Baldwin." And it's always funny because then like sort of like your antennas go up. But yeah, they'll have aliases for themselves. Like he was Barney Rubble, which is kind of funny because that's the character that he played. And that's how we checked the guest into the hotel room, is that we just kind of gave him that weird name, or he gave it to us. And it meant code for I'm going upstairs. So you never really know when you see them. We also have many private rooms inside of our dining restaurants, so you'll not be able to see them there. But yeah, like if you really wanted to see celebrities in town, I mean, Ari is good, Fontainebleau, the Wynn, of course, especially later at night. That's a good place to spot celebrities. And then, of course, you have like places like the Cosmopolitan, Bellagio. Unfortunately for basketball players, you guys are the easiest to spot just because you are the tallest ones. So yeah, it sucks. So with that being said, I will not have a second episode this week because I am going to, drumroll please, the Odyssey in Los Angeles. I am very, very excited about it. Big passion of mine is filmmaking, and I could not be more excited to go see this movie for the first time. So I did plan a couple things while I'm in Los Angeles, so I could maybe tell you guys how that went, with a woman who is both really passionate about planning stuff and also really passionate about just going with the flow and not having a real plan on vacation in particular. So that'll be a fun one to talk about. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate you guys' support. Hopefully you guys go to the movies and watch something good, but I will be there over the weekend, so no second episode this week for Concierge Confidential. So again, thank you so much everybody for listening to the podcast. Follow us on all of our socials, Concierge Confidential _LV or Brian _Ortega 26. And then you can also listen to us wherever you get your podcast, obviously. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully I see you guys soon. And again, if you're out in town, come up and say hello. But remember, keep it confidential.